Alright, so I've got a 3D scene that has a texture applied to a standard material applied to the ground. And to get multiple maps onto this and to mix these kind of textures between my base kind of concrete piece and maybe this dirt texture, I want to be able to sort of control where I'm placing this dirt. So I need to be able to paint a alpha mask onto my ground. So I've already applied a withMultiMap modifier onto this ground surface to tile my cement, my ground texture the way I want it. And then I have a dirt texture that if I just swap out, I've adjusted the tiling on the map settings to get the size of the dirt that I kind of want to mix together in this particular texture. I could have painted the dirt and along with the alpha mask in Photoshop, but I'll just do it as two seamless tileable textures for this video. Okay, so I'm with my withMultiMap modifier. I'm using map channel 1 for these two maps. But what I want to do is I want to be able to take this whole ground and then be able to paint in specific areas on where I want to reveal this other texture. So I need another withMultiMap modifier. Actually, I'm going to do an unwrap. I'll do it with an unwrap withMultiMap modifier. And you can see how it doesn't have all of this packed within a texture square, so I need to pack this into that. But I don't want to affect map channel 1. I want to leave this the way it is on map channel 1 and set a new map channel. And I want to do a totally clean one and display the EVs. And okay, we'll do an abandon. And I will do a planar map. So I've turned on planar map. I've turned off normalize map because I don't want it to non-uniformly distort the texture. And I think I want to rotate this 90 degrees because it's facing up and down. So let's go ahead and rotate that. And I guess if I was looking at the top, that would have been correct, but I think in my layout I was thinking I want to paint it more like that, so we'll go with that. And then I need to compress this into the texture square, so I want to do just sort of pack it real quick. You can see that it packed my my mapping inside of my texture space. So now that I've got it packed in there and it's set to map channel 2, close this. close that. So now I'm ready to be able to paint a new map that's going to be able to give me an opportunity to tell it where I want to blend in my other texture. So if I go to rendering, render to texture, I'm going to render myself a reference image so that I know where the size and placement of where I can paint to apply my my texture. So I want to use an existing channel, channel 2, and I'm going to go ahead and add this as a complete map. And we'll just render it fairly large just to get the detail you need. So this will be my reference image that I'll use in Photoshop to base my paint setup on. Say OK. Go ahead and render this. That's okay if I don't have a target slot, it should be fine. And actually what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to just add a free directional light to, because I want to cast shadows for where these pillars are onto this ground, so that when my reference I know where these pillars are going to be, so I can paint based on where those are going to be at. So I'm just going to turn on some ray trace shadows for this. I'm going to just increase my overshoot just so it falls in line. Okay, so I'll try this again now that I've got a light that's going to cast shadows, and for these guys I should be good. I don't absolutely have to do this part. It's just nice to know where, when you're painting, where those are going to be. So I'll try to do this again. Okay, I'm going to have the object selected. That does help. Alright, so it's selected. It's my map. Okay, let's render that again. So that's what I was hoping to get, is these little shadow marks in the render so that I know where all those pillars were going to be. So this is the render that I just saved to the desktop as a JPEG, and this is going to be my reference, so I can see exactly where that floor is going to be, where that texture is going to be at. And now I can go ahead and paint basically a mask on where I want the dirt texture to start to show up. So I'm actually using that texture as just so I can see visually what that's going to look like when I paint it in there. So let me go ahead and get a brush. I think it will work. Alright. So I'm just going to paint into my layer mask just to see what that's going to look like. So I've got opacity turned down just to, if I want to slowly kind of layer it up. Let's just start over again. So maybe there's a kind of worn path. Maybe the guard comes through here a lot. There's some poor soul that just worn away a spot. In front of these pillars here. There's some dirt or something that's built up in the corners. Okay, so kind of a wild little image in there. So basically there's my apple mask that I need to sort of save out that I can use in Max. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a selection of that. Solid color. Actually, I can do it this way. I'll just make this a color overlay. Just make that pure white, so it's turned to it's just getting rid of the texture basically. And I can use a solid color black. Put that underneath it, and so there's my mask that I've got. So I can go ahead and save this out as my floor dirt mask. Just gonna save that as a JPEG. Save that out. So now I want to blend those textures together. So I'm going to go ahead and create a mix map. Bring in my dirt mask. So color 2 will be my white, or is the white area of my mask, so that's going to be the dirt. So I can just drag my dirt into that color, number 2. And I can drag my base floor into color 1. And so instead of pumping just one material in there, I can use my mixed material to my slot. Now, if I had my spec or whatever, I could just duplicate this, pump my spec and my for each of these different materials, pump those in there and mix a spec map that combines those that I could wire into my specular. Same thing with a bump, just so you get the surfaces, the different properties of the surfaces of your tile sets, and broken out for each of those. I can see it there. I'm just trying to figure out. I forgot one thing. I need to tell the alpha. I need to tell that to use map channel 2. That was the part I was forgetting. So this is set to map channel 2. So now this should be working. So there we go. So you can see there's my path. There's the elements that I wrote. Turn my textures on. My slightly worn path. It's pretty subtle. I probably needed to draw my mask a little brighter in the area where I was wearing away the walk, but it's not terrible. And the edges could probably be a little bit. I could always change that out. Just update that image. So it's a little bit stronger. So it's kind of having a little bit more of an effect. And how it's blending, it's cool. So there you go. There's kind of using a blend, a mix map, and creating a custom map channel to alpha mask.